Hey guys, I'm here at Hampton Beach. I hope you can hear me. If this is up, I guess I, figured the sound was okay. Um, so I'm thinking about the nodes of the moon, the lunar nodes going into Aries and Libra, and that happened, I think it was last week or so. And they will be in there for about a year and a half. And when I look at a planetary body, or in this case, really just an imaginary point in the sky that has some meaning for us, when I look at that moving from one sign to another, I like to get the context. So, first of all, where is that planetary body coming from, or in this case, where are the nodes coming from? Scorpio and Taurus. And then where are they going, and what's been happening in the sign that they're moving into, in this case, Aries and Libra. And we don't have anything going, any of the outer planets hanging out in Libra, but of course we've had Chiron in Aries for, I think, close to 5 years, and it will be there for another 3. So the entire time the nodes will be in Aries and Libra, we will have Chiron there, and there will be a conjunction between the North Node and Chiron, I think early next year. So, and it got me thinking quite a bit about Chiron and Aries and what it means, and had a few revelations about it in terms of what we've seen, societally, which I want to share, with some small amount of trepidation, because I'm not, I know people like mundane astrology meaning, applying the planets to what's going on, what we see going on in society, and I know a lot of people really like that, and I certainly think about it, enjoy good commentary on mundane astrology, which is kind of hard to find actually these days, because I don't see what's happening in the world the same way as most astrologers, or most people. So it's always a little bit disappointing. But I thought it's instructive to get the feel for what's going on with Chiron and Aries, to look at it at a large scale, and then, but ultimately applying it to our lives. I'm really focused on individuals and helping people understand themselves, and dare I say, wake up. I don't think we really wake society up. I think we wake individuals up, or we help individuals awaken, and we all help each other do that. So if you look at what's happened in the last 3 years, of course the commentary on Pluto and Capricorn, and Saturn and Aquarius, that has been pretty accurate and pretty easy to see, as far as like all the restrictions that have gone on, but then there are other elements, and I have talked about one of those elements being Neptune in Pisces, which I haven't really seen anybody, or hardly anybody, talk about in this manner, which is the mass delusion, I guess you would say, the negative side of Neptune, the negative side of Pisces, the mass kind of swallowing fantasy, about what's going on, and that has been really empowered by Neptune and Pisces. And the other thing with Neptune and Pisces is about empathy for, the whole, Pisces doesn't really think about individuals so much. Pisces thinks about, the whole sea of humanity. And so Neptune in Pisces is really an identification with the suffering of humanity, and there's a whole redemption trip and alleviating that suffering, and that's really been played on by the powers that be and the media and such. If we look at Neptune and Pisces and then Saturn and Aquarius, these are like the two universal signs. I look at the signs 1 to 4 being personal, 5 to 9 being social, and then 5 to 8 being social, and 9 to 12 being universal, and Aquarius and Pisces being the most universal of the signs. So there's been this, with both of them having their rulers in those signs for a large part of the last few years. Saturn's now in Pisces, which I think helps balance things out. But there's been a real emphasis on the universal over the individual. Like if you having individual rights or freedoms, is selfish if you're not putting the needs of the universal, first. I think that's been pretty driven home pretty hard. But the next part of that equation is Chiron and Aries. So Chiron and Aries is a wound to that sense of self. Aries being the first sign, we're, it's on the cusp of being born out of the unity consciousness, which is Pisces, and the 12th house, Pisces, Neptune, among other things, signifies the womb, where we, I don't remember, but where I assume, where most people assume we experience a kind of unitive consciousness, where, there's a lack of separation between ourselves and the outer world. It's all one. So it's sort of a psychological unitive consciousness, and of course Neptune and Pisces can also speak about a spiritual unitive consciousness. So in Aries, it's about when we're born and cutting the cord to that unitive consciousness and becoming a separate being, and Aries really celebrates that. We came here to incarnate, and so there should be some kind of celebration of ourselves as a separate incarnate being, and the fact that our needs and wants and desires are okay, or more than okay, worth being celebrated, and that there's some kind of divine purpose for us to individuate here as separate beings. So that's sort of the higher way of looking at Aries. But when you have got Chiron there, then there's a sense of do I matter? Am I important? Do my needs matter against the needs, the experience of the collective? So in a sense, the umbilical cord doesn't get cut, and we're still sort of more identified with the collective and the collective's needs, and feeling that our needs or our experience as an individual is not there's something maybe shameful about it. I think Chiron is connected to shame, because Chiron was ashamed of his appearance, as half man and half beast, and that's why he went into the forest and ended up learning all these skills and about healing and such, and ended up being a mentor. But it was a feeling of shame that propelled that, propelled Chiron to greatness. So he had to sort of separate himself from society. And I think, if you've got Chiron in Aries, or maybe even in the first house, it's similar to, I think, a feeling of Saturn in Aries. Saturn in the first house would have a similar feeling to it. So yeah, I think we've seen that, across the board in society, this feeling like individuals feeling overwhelmed with the power of the collective, and feeling like, their experience doesn't matter, because this collective experience, which of course has been sort of twisted and hyped by the media to, and this is more like the Saturn and Pisces thing, to make it seem like, there's this huge agreement in the collective about the collective being the most important thing, more important than the individual, so things are kind of being skewed that way. But yeah, we've seen, that's sort of like the third piece of the puzzle. We've had the restrictions, and then we've had the illusion or delusion of Neptune and Pisces, but then we've also had the sort of demolition of individualism. It's like controlled demolition of this sense of individuality, and how that's somehow become a dirty word, individuality and freedom and personal needs and all that kind of stuff. So as the nodes, as the North Node goes into Aries, I think it's going to kick up these issues even more, and I think it'll be a chance to work on it individually, because again, I'm not, that's really what I'm interested in. It's like, so I'm using the example of what's going on societally just to show, what may have been already kicked up for you individually, with Chiron and Aries. If Chiron has been aspecting some of your planets, some of your chart points. Right now Chiron is conjunct it's just passed over my Saturn, and it's now going retrograde. It's going to pass over my Saturn again a couple more times. So this may be why I'm really feeling it and really kind of getting a hit on what Chiron and Aries means. So you may already have been feeling some of this stuff personally in your personal work with Chiron there the last 5 years. If not, the nodes here may bring it up, especially in the next 6 months, when they're going to be closer to Chiron. And so we've got these two, we've got actually one of the eclipses is going to be back in Scorpio and Taurus in October, but one of them will be in Aries, Libra. So that that one in Aries Libra may kick up some of these issues of individuality, and it's going to be balanced against the Venusian issues of other people's needs as well. So you can look at society and say, compared to societies in the past, we live in the most, especially here in the West, the most individualistic society that ever has been. And in some senses, that's true, but it doesn't feel like true individualism. I think at the base, I think there's still a lot of stuff that it's not okay to think or believe. So yeah, it's like an illusion of individuality. It's not true individuality. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. Jung had the idea of individuation, and it was very different from just like meeting your needs at the expense of other people's needs. It had nothing to do with that, but it was more about exploring just all the parts of oneself and trying to bring those into a coherent whole. And excuse me, I had an itch there. Yeah, so exploring other parts of yourself, bringing that into a coherent whole, that's true individualism. And I don't think that is encouraged really at all societally, especially in the last few years. So yeah, I think I'll bring it to a close, but I would look out for these issues, especially as we have our eclipses coming up in the fall, and then next spring, yeah, I'll leave it there, and have a good day.